It's all yours.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. A great man once said, "Real sick, brawl nights, I perform like Mike. Anyone, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson." For those of you too young or maybe just not fly enough, that's a line from Biggie's verse on Victory, released July 22nd, 1997. But what does that have to do with the Milwaukee Admirals' Game 3 3-1 victory against the Coachella Valley Firebirds? Well, there's one player that we haven't talked about much so far, but I promised you, the other Western Conference teams in the playoffs, well, they probably know him pretty well. As Biggie once said, you've heard of us, the murderous, most shady, been on the low lately. The Firebirds hate me. Well, I might have changed the lyrics on that last part. But nobody has flown quite under the radar while being so dangerous than the Admirals defenseman Mark Del Gaizo. And the notorious MDG is the topic of tonight's One Big Stat. The Admirals faced a 1-0 deficit in the second period tonight with the specter of a 3-0 series deficit looming large, and who else but Mark Del Gaizo tied the game and essentially shifted all the momentum Milwaukee's way. And despite the bigger names like Luke Evangelista, Kiefer Sherwood, and Joachim Kamel, who had a crucial goal tonight, taking a lot of the coverage, Del Gaizo has quietly accumulated an incredible postseason for the Admirals. While this is just Del Gaizo's fourth goal in the 13 games of these playoffs, he's come up in big games when they needed him. Two of his other goals were in pivotal games against the Texas Stars last series. But of course, goals aren't the only stats. Del Gaizo's 11 points this postseason has him 11th in the league in the playoff points, tied with Jordan Gross and just 3 points behind the Admirals' points leader, Luke Evangelista. And he's shown up big even without getting on the scoreboard, posting an even 0 and plus-minus so far. I know, the second best of all defensemen in the AHL playoffs so far. Mark Del Gaizo is in his second full AHL season after being drafted in the 4th round by Nashville back in 2019. The former UMass Minutemen associate captain has been biding his time in the AHL, and he's come up big when it counts in these AHL playoffs. So while Del Gaizo hasn't gotten a fair share of the coverage and analysis, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else, I think he's making himself pretty well known to the people who matter, and that's his opponents. Because if you as fans haven't been able to watch Del Gaizo just yet, just a single game should convince you that he's not letting this Admirals team fall out of the playoffs without a fight. And of course, as Biggie would say, if you don't know, now you know. And that's tonight's One Big Stat. Charlie?